What's happening, folks? Back with another reaction, back with some more Sinéad O'Connor, as well as a very vocal Luca. And we're returning to Am I Not Your Girl, 1992, getting close to the end of the album. And the next tune is How Insensitive, which is a funny title and sounds like someone is taking umbrage or is incensed by the emotional behavior of another person. This is, of course, an album full of old standards and songs from the first half of the 20th century, so I would expect this to be the same, but I didn't notice in advance who the songwriter might be, so I look forward to people commenting in that regard. That's it. You came to hang out for like 2 seconds. But yes, let's give it a listen. This is Sinéad O'Connor. The track is How Insensitive, and it's from her 1992 album, Am I Not Your Girl?
Insensitive, I must have seemed when he told me that he loved me. How unmoved and cold I must have seemed when he said it so sincerely. Why, he must have asked, did I just turn and stare in the icy silence? What was I to do? What can you do when a love affair is over? Now he's gone away and I'm alone with the memory of his last look, vague and drawn and sad. I see it still, all the heartbreak of his last look. Why, he must have asked, would I just turn and stare in icy silence? What was I to say? What can you say when a love affair is over? Why, he must have asked, did I just turn and stare in icy silence? What was I to say? What can you say when a love affair is over? Over.
Masterful. What a tune. One of my favorites on the album. So, first the lyrics. It is someone suggesting or indeed speculating about emotional surprise or umbrage, but it's not for sure, meaning the person who behaved in a way that was perhaps emotionally unfeeling and insensitive is actually the narrator, and she's speculating or hypothesizing how it must have seemed to her former boyfriend, her former partner, because they reached a point in the relationship where she didn't feel the same anymore, he still felt very sincerely and said to her with all his sincerity, I love you, but rather than replying, rather than responding to it warmly and, maybe with a physical gesture, she turned toward him and stared in icy silence. And in retrospect now, she's thinking about how that must have seemed to him, who still clearly loved her, and how cold and unfeeling she must have come across, how insensitive she must have seemed to this person with whom she clearly shared experiences, love, a relationship. But she's also defending herself a little in that she says, what could I say there? What can anyone say when a love relationship is no more, when it's come to an end, when you don't feel the same way as you used to? So she's suggesting that there's really nothing she could have said, really no other way she could have responded that would have been genuine and honest, but she still is wondering how he's feeling or how he must have felt in that moment, and what a letdown, disappointment, maybe even betrayal her response would have seemed like. Now, extrapolating a bit more into the hypothetical range, it seems like she's maybe, if not second guessing her decision or her behavior, she's at the very least not immediately moved on. She's not thinking about someone new or like, wow, I'm so happy to be broken up with this person. She's still kind of worried about how he might have viewed her in that moment and how he might have felt about her actions. So there's a suggestion that it was a significant relationship, because it's not something that she's just putting out of sight, out of mind, that's it, I don't care anymore. She's still wondering about his feelings, still thinking about him after the fact, though again, with the stipulation that she probably couldn't have played that moment any differently than she did. So it's a emotionally nuanced and well-written song. I love her vocal performance. Very soft, breathy, almost like speaking, like she's just telling us a story. And the way the lyrics, they're not extensive. She does keep going back to the same lines, but that sort of conveys the idea that she's just running through this moment in her head again and again and trying to access what his emotional state would have been upon realizing, oh wait, she's just looking at me and not saying anything. And by using icy silence, it suggests that her facial expression was muted, was unfeeling in that way. It's not like she said, oh look, I feel really bad, but I just don't feel the same way. Like, she didn't give him anything in that moment other than a stare and just this icy cold silence. So yeah, there's a really clever way that she delivers her vocals, which convey seemingly thematically and emotionally exactly what the lyrics are saying. So a top tune, absolutely enjoyed this one. Again, all the rich sonic elements, the transitional moments, that end which sort of had multiple flourishes as it came to a final stop, speeding up of the drums, slowing down, the piano and I don't know if there was a harp in there. Definitely some woodwinds. The woodwinds stood out to me maybe more than anything else and were very rich and lush in their sound. So yes, just a top throwback tune. Love the, again, mid-20th century jazz stylings of the album. In the moment, I'm forgetting what else is left in the folder. Let me just check really quickly. We have 2 more tracks in the folder, Scarlet Ribbons and Don't Cry For Me Argentina Instrumental. Okay, so I'm guessing maybe the instrumental of Don't Cry For Me Argentina was a bonus track, because, the regular version was already on the album, but we'll go through that too. I would like to get all I can of this album before we move on. Do let me know what you think. Thank you to all the folks who've been following this journey, and ultimately all those who make music available. You are so greatly appreciated. Let me know what you think. I will see you next time. Peace.